subscribe and tap the bell. Twice a day, we bring you the real words of the Stoics, not paraphrased, not softened. 2,300 years ago, in the city of Athens, a merchant named Zeno lost everything. His ship went down in a storm, his cargo with it. He wandered into a bookstore, picked up a text on the teachings of Socrates, and asked the owner where he could find a man who lived like that. The owner pointed across the street to a philosopher named Crates. Zeno followed him. Out of that shipwreck came a school of thought. It would outlast the Roman Empire, guide an emperor, and steady a man born into slavery. Zeno taught under a painted porch in the Athens marketplace, the Stoa Poikile. His students became known as Stoics, after the porch itself. What he taught them wasn't a religion. It wasn't a set of rituals to perform. It was a method for thinking clearly when everything around you is falling apart, one that other Stoics would spend the next 500 years refining, arguing over, and living out under conditions far worse than a lost cargo ship. Here is the entire philosophy, reduced to its foundation. Some things are within your power. Everything else is not. The Stoic teacher Epictetus, writing centuries after Zeno, opened his handbook on philosophy with this exact idea, translated here by Elizabeth Carter in 1759. Things, some are in our power, and others not. In our power are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in one word, whatever are our own actions. Not in our power, our body, property, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions. Read that again. Your body can get sick. Your property can be taken. Your reputation can be ruined by a lie you never told. None of that is yours to command. What is yours is your opinion, your judgment, your response. Epictetus continues, now, the things in our power are, by nature, free, unrestrained, unhindered, but those not in our power, weak, slavish, restrained, belonging to others. Remember then, that, if you suppose things by nature slavish, to be free, and what belongs to others, your own, you will be hindered, you will lament, you will be disturbed, you will find fault both with gods and men. This isn't resignation. It isn't telling yourself not to care. It's a redirection of all your energy toward the one place it can actually do something, your own mind, and away from the 100 places it can't. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled from the year 161 to 180, kept a private journal built entirely on this same idea. He never intended it for publication. It survived by accident, copied and recopied for 18 centuries, until George Long translated it into the English we still read today. In it, Marcus writes to himself about the mind that has mastered this distinction. If thou art pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs thee, but thy own judgment about it. And it is in thy power to wipe out this judgment now. But if anything in thy own disposition gives thee pain, who hinders thee from correcting thy opinion? An emperor commanding armies on the frontier, writing to himself at night. A freed slave teaching the same idea in a rented room in Rome. That's the second thing worth understanding about Stoicism, it was never a philosophy for the comfortable. It was built by people under real pressure, plague, war, exile, loss, because it works precisely when comfort runs out. Marcus goes further, describing the disciplined mind as something closer to a fortress. The mind which is free from passions is a citadel, for man has nothing more secure to which he can fly for refuge and for the future be inexpugnable. He then who has not seen this is an ignorant man, but he who has seen it and does not fly to this refuge is unhappy. A citadel, not because it keeps the world out. The world gets in regardless, uninvited and often unwelcome. But inside it, nothing the world does can force your hand. Your judgment stays yours to give or withhold. So what does this actually look like, practiced instead of just read? It looks like separating the event from your story about the event. Someone insults you, that's the external thing. Your anger is the judgment you added afterward. Marcus says plainly, the judgment is what you can remove, not the insult itself. Epictetus takes this even further, warning against arguing with your own first impressions. Say nothing more to thyself than what the first appearances report. Suppose that it has been reported to thee that a certain person speaks ill of thee. This has been reported, but that thou hast been injured, that has not been reported. Notice the gap he's pointing at. Being spoken ill of is a fact. Being injured by it is a story you told yourself about that fact, and stories can be examined, questioned, and in most cases, simply dropped. Epictetus applies the same test to grief before it even happens. I see that my child is sick. I do see, but that he is in danger, I do not see. The sickness is real. The danger is imagined, ahead of any evidence for it. An imagined suffering is suffering you invented for free. This is why Epictetus was blunt about what Stoicism doesn't promise. If you desire things outside your control, your health, your wealth, the good opinion of strangers, you'll always be disappointed. You're demanding control over what was never yours to command. The freedom Stoicism offers is narrower and stranger than most self-help promises today. It's not freedom from hardship. It's freedom from being owned by your reaction to it. This is the philosophy this channel exists to unpack, not modern paraphrases, not slogans borrowed from a name that's 2,000 years old, but the actual words of the people who built this way of thinking. People who lived it under circumstances most of us will never face. An emperor. A former slave. A shipwrecked merchant who lost everything and built something that outlasted every empire that came after him. In the videos ahead, we go through their actual writing, book by book, letter by letter, and work out exactly what it demands of a life lived today. It's worth being honest about why this school of thought outlasted so many others that started around the same time in Athens. Most ancient philosophies asked their students to withdraw, leave the city, own nothing, chase pleasure, or avoid it entirely. Stoicism asked the opposite. Zeno's students stayed in public life. Marcus ruled an empire while practicing it. Epictetus taught it openly after being freed, in the middle of the same Roman world that had once owned him. This philosophy was built to be lived while fully engaged with the world, not as an escape from it. That's exactly why an emperor and a former slave could use the identical method, and both call it the thing that held them together. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We bring you Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and the Stoics they trained, straight from the source, twice a day.